of the Auditor-General is Zambia's supreme audit institution. Its mandate involves auditing accounts of state organs, provincial administrations, local authorities and institutions financed from public funds, among others. All this is aimed at enhancing accountability in the utilization of public resources so that they are used for their intended purpose, with those found wanting being taken to task. The Office of the Auditor-General draws its functions and mandate from Article 250 of the Constitution of Zambia, Amendment Act No. 2 of 2016, and is led by an Auditor-General appointed by the President and subject to ratification by the National Assembly. Dr. Dick Chembe is the current Auditor-General running an institution with a nationwide footprint.
We check on what the executive is doing in relation to what the legislature has approved for the executive to do. We report back for accountability process. In the accountability triangle of the legislature, the executive, and ourselves, we play a key role to report back. Like I indicated, when we report back, what happens is the makers of the law, in this case the legislature, then holds the executive accountable on the management of the public resources.
Since taking over office, Dr. Chembe has embarked on reforming and restructuring the audit institution.
Looking at what the president has pronounced and the vision of the new Dawn government of taking the resources to the provinces, we are trying also as the office to ensure that we reform to provide effective oversight on the CTF as the resources are decentralized or devolved to the lower levels of governance.
With about 700 auditors across the country, handling 60 ministries, provincials and agencies of central government, 116 local authorities, over 200 parastatals, and over 500 projects which require audits annually, 2 deputies for audits and corporate services division come in handy.
We look at all those issues that are material and they are worthy escalating to the next stage, but they've not been satisfactorily answered by the controlling officer or director of finance or whoever has been charged to take care of those queries.
We are in charge of planning and information. We also are in charge of human resource as well as finance. So in terms of providing the impact, I think we need the resource for the auditors to carry out the audits and be able to give that impact. They need human resource. They also need financial resources, so we facilitate that as a division.
The Office of the Auditor-General's provincial centers in all 10 provincial capitals are headed by assistant directors who are yet to be elevated to director level as part of institutional reforms aimed at enhancing effective oversight on public resources. While efforts to enhance audit functions in provinces are advancing, there seems to be one common challenge affecting government departments across the country. Most government buildings do not have title deeds. However, the Copperbelt province has a unique story to tell owing to close collaboration with the Office of the Auditor-General.
We must be the only provincial administration that can proudly stand and boast to say, because of the queries raised by Auditor-General, we have managed to obtain title deed for this property that we are on, provincial administration, and about almost 10 other properties that we have obtained, titles that we have obtained and lodged in with the Ministry of Finance.
The impact of the Auditor-General's office on the Copperbelt province further extends to the education sector, with a staff complement of 18,000 teachers and supporting staff working in 8,000 schools across the province. Administrative matters left to the Copperbelt Provincial Education Office alone becomes a daunting task. The Office of the Auditor-General in the province now acts as ears and eyes for Provincial Education Officer Felix Ngoma.
Their existence and their work makes us more careful in what we do, because we are always aware that we will be checked for what we are doing. So I think it's a positive impact, because then it creates a system that tries to be careful and to do things in compliance with the various rules and regulations.
The Auditor-General's office also audits local government institutions. For instance, the Ndola City Council brags of positive strides made through checks and balances and recommendations made by government auditors. Because of strengthened resource management systems, the City Council has managed to buy a grader for road construction and has completed the erection of the famous Kapalala market, which would take in 4,000 marketeers.
They are there to provide checks and balances on how we're performing. So when certain queries are raised, we're able to attend to those queries, and we also get guidance from the Office of the Auditor-General in general on how we're supposed to perform.
Council mobilized the resources through the Local Government Equalization Fund. Council was able to use the capital component of those funds to purchase the grader, which you can see right behind me.
The aforementioned stride made by the Ndola City Council are attributed to amendment in legislation which gave the Office of the Auditor-General a mandate to begin auditing all operations of local authorities through the Local Authorities Appropriation Department. Previously, only the Constituency Development Fund and Local Government Equalization Funds were audited.
With the coming in of Auditor-General, we have seen that the councils are now aware, the controlling officers are now aware, that if they don't direct the resources to where they are supposed to go, Auditor-General is going to come and pick up these issues. So now what we have seen now is that there has been increased service provision.
Markets were a no-go zone area at some point in this country. But through us raising that query, you can see that, for instance, even the current government is able to promote the aspect of giving back to the councils the authority to run the markets and raise more revenue.
For Traxon Mwemba, Assistant Director for Copperbelt Province, corrective measures undertaken by controlling officers are a reflection of the office's impact in the province.
The corrective measures that we've seen being undertaken by the controlling officers, and we have instances where resources are being saved as a result of our audits.
Solwezi District is now a fast-growing town owing to increased mining activities in northwestern province. This has exposed the council to a huge inflow of revenue coming through land rates, with Kansanshi mine being the biggest contributor. In 2020 alone, Kansanshi mine was set to pay 26 million kwacha in rates, but the council requested that the mine returns 4.1 million kwacha for road construction. 1.5 kilometers of a once dilapidated gravel road was tarred in Kandemba Township at a cost of 1.9 million kwacha by Kansanshi's road department, but works were only complete following audit queries by the Auditor-General.
Arising from the issues raised by the Auditor-General, we did engage the contractor, who is the FQM Roads Department, and they came and completed the part that was remaining, and now the road is complete and is open for use to the public.
Tons of waste generated in the mining town, with an estimated 221,000 population, ends up at this dump site a few kilometers from the Solwezi Central Business District. An environmental audit of the local authority found it wanting, as the site was operating without adhering to the Solid Waste Management Act, which stipulates that a dump site should have a weighbridge for accountability of waste, warning signs, and fence for security. A push by the Office of the Auditor-General has now yielded positive results.
We discovered that there were no warning signs. So we raised that issue, but the client has since worked on that. As you can see, there are warning signs. On the weighbridge also, it was not functioning then. As you can see, I think the way that is, the garbage that is being dumped on this site is being weighed. And also we discovered that the dump site was not fenced. Solid waste management regulation also requires that the dump site is supposed to be fenced. So we raised that issue. So the client worked on it.
John Kalumba, Director of Finance at the Northwestern Provincial Administration, views the Office of the Auditor-General as a key partner in development.
When you look at the payroll issues that we have had in the past, because of the Office of the Auditor-General coming in, I think the issue of misplacement, the issue of rural hardship allowance being given to those who are not, they have cleaned. And we, as at now, even as I'm talking, we can safely say we are almost there in terms of paying the right people for the allowances that they are supposed to get.
Development in Western Province has been positive among the 16 local authorities through constant checks and balances on utilization of public resources and infrastructure development by the Office of the Auditor-General. Mongu, the provincial capital, has 2 civic centers, which makes it difficult for effective service delivery. However, a 2.1 million kwacha funding from the Local Government Equalization Fund in 2019 brought to life this building, comprising an office block and council chambers.
To cut on the cost of hire and the premises where that can accommodate council meetings are not within the vicinity of this place. Most of them are very far away from here. So you find that you have to transport the people that are attending the meeting. There's also a cost of fuel. But now that all of us will be here, even the meetings will be conducted from here. So that cost definitely will be done away with.
The case of salaries still being paid to people who have left the civil service is still widespread, but recoveries have commenced.
The figure comes to about 4.6 million kwacha that we detected as having been irregularly paid to individuals. In the process of the audit, we engaged the clients who committed themselves to recovering the said amount, and so far an amount of 500,000 kwacha has been recovered.
In Southern Province, residents in the tourist capital Livingstone now have running water 24 hours from the previous 10 hours, as water losses have reduced from 53% to around 36%. The installation of 960 water meters in Nakatindi Township, which was previously unmetered, has been completed by the Southern Water and Sanitation Company SWASCO, following audit queries and recommendations by the Office of the Auditor-General.
Water losses at the time of audit, it was about 53%, the water losses, but that has dropped to around 36% current. So that drop for us is a serious gain in terms of efficiencies in our business. And more also, now we have less customer complaints because customers are billed according to what they consume.
Residents of Livingstone's Dambwa North now feel secure with the construction of a police post, which has beefed up police presence from the previous container in which officers operated. The 220,000 kwacha project, which started in 2018, was supposed to only take 3 months, took over a year to complete after audit intervention from the Office of the Auditor-General.
Where the initial police post was operating from, they were operating from a container, and within the container, I think that's where they had an office and a cell. So it was not a conducive environment compared to this project that we are seeing now.
For Alphonsus Malambo, the Southern Province Assistant Director, the push by his office has helped the water utility company and the council to improve their service delivery.
If we had not moved in, perhaps that police post would not have been constructed, would not have been completed. So that's one other impact that we made.
Eastern Province has had a fair share of its challenges in administering public resources. However, the local authority in the provincial capital Chipata has made good of the 20% capital component from the Local Government Equalization Fund to construct and expand the fire department.
There is that realization now that if you misapply or misappropriate resources that are meant for the public, then there will be consequences. So that has kept ringing in each and every public officer, so to say. So we are alert.
The Provincial Office of the Auditor-General in Chipata has been providing constant checks and balances on this project to ensure effective utilization of public resources.
So as at the time we were auditing, what we found was that the works had been completed up to roof level, so the other works had still not yet been done. So we queried it as an incomplete project.
As this city is expanding, so are the challenges in government departments and ministries, especially relating to payroll. But the Provincial Oversight Office has been key in helping government save resources through recoveries from financial queries raised.
Once we raise queries For example, in 2019, we had a query that was raised under provincial administration. We are talking about 220,000 that was paid as housing allowance to officers. But through our audits, that money was recovered and the government saved on that.
The Auditor-General's Northern Province Office, like others, has had its fair share of officers collecting rural hardship allowances, yet they do not qualify for that. With a vibrant team led by Smart Nguni, precision planning and audit queries raised to the latter, recoveries have since been made in ministries of education, agriculture and health.
Even for Lake Tanganyika Development Project, we're actually impressed because we are looking at a project which is impacting on the local people around that area. So for us, we took it that whatever we recommended, they implemented them. And by so doing, those projects have, some of them have since been completed.
Chikumanino bus station in the heart of Kasama is one of the projects that the Office of the Auditor-General has had an impact on through audit queries. Constant queries for the ticketing booths, whose construction started in 2017, finally saw them being operational by 2021. Northern Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Sineva Kambenja acknowledges benefits accrued from the Office of the Auditor-General in reminding the provincial administration of what is expected of them.
We are benefiting from what Auditor-General's office is doing, because we are kept reminded to ensure that we correct certain things. We do certain things according to the way, to the expectation of the people, to the expectation of the regulations, the Finance Act.
Construction works in Wapula province in various sectors, among them health, have been on the rise, but contractors have been delaying to complete the projects despite having been paid. The Office of the Auditor-General has been persistent in raising audit queries for their completion, and some are now providing the much-needed services.
Quite a number of health posts that have been constructed. But you find that even if they construct some of these health posts, we discovered some were not operational. But because of our persistent queries that we have been bringing out, the ministry have gone flat out to make sure that they engage other stakeholders, and then all those health posts are manned, and now they are operational.
The 490,000 Kwacha Lukangaba health post in the outskirts of Mansa, whose construction was only supposed to take 16 weeks, is one of those still incomplete since 2019, as the contractor had abandoned works.
The last extension period, it was supposed to have ended in June, 30th June 2021, of which by then the contractor was waiting for the last IPC to be paid. As I'm speaking, the IPC has since been honored, and as you can see, the team is back on site.
Muchinga, a relatively new province, is among those which have recorded positive strides following the intervention of the Provincial Office of the Auditor-General. For Joel Manyonga, the Provincial Principal Auditor in charge of Provincial Audit Appropriation Directorate, his work has led to rectifying payroll challenges where government officers who were being paid for stations they don't work from, and irregularities in housing and rural hardship allowances being curtailed.
Officers who are getting housing allowance while they are occupying government houses. So we're able to observe that, and we queried, and out of our query, the recoveries were made from those officers, and they no longer get housing allowances.
The Chinsali-based office reaches out to about 9 town councils in Muchinga. Audit queries by the provincial office has seen fire extinguishers procured in Isoka, mast levies collected in Nakonde, and township roads which had stored for 6 years in Chinsali now complete.
We brought this to the attention of management, and management took action, and today the township roads in Chinsali are done. The council was unable to collect, but when we queried, they had managed to go and collect about 50,000 kwacha from the mass levy. This indicates that our queries are impacting the operations of the authorities, because the revenue part of it, which is key to service delivery in the local authorities, is now being received.
However, queries that had seen the fencing off of the 15-hectare Muinga dump site have been rendered effortless owing to lack of security. In Central Province, the Office of the Auditor-General has led to enhanced adherence of terms by contractors fearing to be blacklisted.
The contractor knows that the orders will be coming, and to avoid blacklisting, you will find that also the contractor will ensure that they complete the project, but they will not run away from the project as long as all the conditions are being met. Impactfully, this also has had commendable results on the part of the community.
Prior to putting in place legislation for the Office of the Auditor-General to audit all operations of councils, the Kabwe City Council had challenges of revenue collection.
We've seen an improvement in terms of the reduction in audit queries. So we've seen an improvement in the improvement of internal controls, in the collection of revenue.
The completion of Chililalila Health Center with a catchment area of 1,360 people is one project pushed by the Office of the Auditor-General, now taking health services closer to people.
Without the Auditor-General actually coming to check on the progress, I'm sure I think some of the works wouldn't be the way we are seeing like this particular project.
The Office of the Auditor-General also extends its audits to performance of some government programs.
We've conducted a number of audits, and I'll speak to one particular audit on the juvenile justice system. This is where we assess the government undertakings to determine whether they are supporting the welfare and rehabilitation of juveniles that come in conflict with the law.
Back at the headquarters in Lusaka, Auditor-General Dix Chembe has a long list of the impact his institution has had on management of public resources. Key among them is a forensic audit which led to prosecution of people involved in the social cash transfer scandal, the speed cameras which led to cancellation of the Intelligent Mobility Solutions contract, and the latest being the alleged COVID material supplies worth over 1 billion kwacha.
Some of the invoices that were purported to have been issued through the supply of medical supplies to the ministry, the suppliers have failed to come and claim those invoices. They are in excess of 1 billion.
As a continuation of his office's oversight on public resources, the Office of the Auditor-General is now eyeing conducting special audits in various sectors of the economy.
We have got special audits that we want to undertake, special audits on infrastructure, special audits on procurement of petroleum, special audits on FISIP, and a special audit on the contraction of debt. Our work will inform police on how they are going to move forward in some of these things. And the works that we have been doing before has been informing policy for the managers of the country to see how best they can formulate the policies because of the issues that as Auditor General we have found as we do the audits.
This institution has continued playing a key role as an oversight institution looking over public resources, bringing to light any abuse which relevant institutions take up for possible prosecution. The planned reforming and restructuring of this institution is aimed at further enhancing its effectiveness in line with the international organizations of Supreme Audit Institution standards, whose principle requires the office to have value and benefits to citizens.